Chapter 989. In the blink of an eye, a 10,000-meter tall, true body appeared. Wuyong was shocked. Almost everyone was shocked. Was this still a human? Looking at Lei Xingfeng's true body was like looking at a towering mountain. It was too terrifying. That huge body, let alone hit, just a glance was enough to make everyone gasp for breath. Lei Xingfeng didn't dare to move. At this time, he knew very well that Wu Yang's group was basically trash in front of this true body. Not to mention stepping on it, even brushing against it would probably kill them. Xi and Feng hurriedly put it away after releasing it. He didn't know what would happen to this real body. If he wasn't careful and bumped into the people of the hidden sect, he wouldn't be able to regret it. Wuyong finally understood why Lei Xingfeng didn't reveal his true body in the mirror realm. This thing was simply too big. So big that it was unbelievable. Who had seen a 10,000-meter tall, true body before? In fact, Lei Xingfeng hadn't fully revealed his true body yet. If he did, his true body would be even bigger. Everyone finally came to their senses and started to discuss among themselves. Lazi was dumbfounded for a long time before he reacted. He said, "Damn, I haven't been back for a long time. How did a phone become like this? A ninth ring true body is actually so crazy. Sigh, we've lived for so many years in vain." Wuyong said, "I didn't expect a ninth ring true body to be like this. No wonder A Phone wants to leave the mirror realm. It is indeed difficult for him to stay." There was no other reason. It was because once Leiyin activated, it would automatically collect the required resources. There was no place that Lei Xingfeng could consume. Just one cultivation session could cause the mirror realm to collapse. How could they stay? One had to know that most cultivators often cultivated unconsciously. If Lei Xingfeng came once in the mirror realm, everyone would die. Lei Xingfeng couldn't face this kind of thing. He could only leave. After putting away his true body, Lei Xingfeng came in front of everyone and brought them back to their own courtyard in the mirror realm. They all sat down in their wooden huts. Wuyong asked, "A Feng, you sent us back to the outer realm. Where are you going?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Since I'm leaving the secret sect, I'm going to cultivate to the limit and see where the limit of 9 seals combined into one is. When I find the answer, I may come back." Lei Xianyao said, "Brother, don't leave us." Lei Xingfeng said, "Little sister, don't worry. I'm only leaving temporarily. I'll come back to find you and Ai. When I reach the peak of the 9th ring true body, I'll return to the mirror realm. Little sister, I'll leave the control of the mirror realm to you. The secret sect is our foundation. You have the highest cultivation now, so you'll be in charge of the mirror realm from now on." In the end, the mirror realm was controlled by Lei Xianyao. This meant that Lei Xianyao's status was rising rapidly. In the future, she would be the true leader of the secret sect, just like Wu Yang and Gucci. Lei Xianyao nodded bitterly. She knew that she couldn't keep Lei Xingfeng anymore. Everyone stayed in the wooden hut for a long time. As for Lei Xianyao, she stayed with Lei Xingfeng the whole time. The next day, the entire secret sect mobilized and moved again. This meant that the 2 bases had to move. This time, they were going back to the outer realm because Lei Xingfeng felt that this was the end of the continent world. Last time, Lei Xingfeng saw the real star world on the way here. He was considering if he should go to the star world and cultivate on the planet there. Lei Xingfeng felt that his way out should be in the star world. The continent world couldn't hold him anymore. Furthermore, Xi and Feng had a feeling that as his cultivation deepened, he alone would be able to use up all the resources in this place. No matter what, he had to bring the mirror realm back to the outer realm. Once there, Lei Xingfeng could officially transfer the mirror realm to Lei Xianyao. Now wasn't the time. He had to be the one to bring the mirror realm and the secret sect back. These days, Lei Xingfeng spent most of his time with Thunderstorm and Lei Xianyao. He told them the secrets of cultivation. According to his understanding, Lei Xianyao had the possibility of reaching the 8th true ring body. However, it would be too difficult for her to reach the 9th true ring body. As for Thunderstorm, he estimated that the highest he could reach was the 3rd true ring body. It would be very difficult for him to reach the next level. A large number of people moved back to the mirror realm. Due to the experience of many migrations, the speed of this migration was much faster than the previous 2 times. The secret sect was very organized. Everyone had a clear division of labor. This time, Lei Xingfeng didn't go out to help. After about 10 days, the people and resources of the 2 bases were all moved back to the mirror realm. Lei Xingfeng then left the mirror realm. At this time, he was still in control of the mirror realm. This meant that no matter where he went, the mirror realm would follow him. In fact, Lei Xingfeng had already discovered that if he took another step forward, he would be able to create the mirror realm after a few more rounds of cultivation. This kind of thing was actually used to imprison a continent. After various restrictions and cultivation, it could form a mirror realm. This was similar to a high-level seal. Lei Xingfeng knew that if he cultivated again, the mirror realm would be completely absorbed by him in a few more rounds. Therefore, he was very careful. Lei Xingfeng came to a continent and opened his secret door. This thing had completely changed. A secret door, tens of thousands of feet tall, hung in the sky above the continent. Lei Xingfeng revealed his true body and stepped into the door. In the blink of an eye, Lei Xingfeng returned to the outer realm. He didn't have to go through untold hardships like before and risk his body being crushed by the teleportation. Lei Xingfeng could even use this secret door to return to the continent he was born on. This secret door completely ignored distance. As long as he had been to a place before, he could enter it at any time. After returning to the outer realm, Lei Xingfeng didn't rush back to the mirror realm. Instead, he began to search the outer realm to find a suitable place for the secret door to live. The outer realm was extremely vast. Lei Xingfeng had lived here for a period of time, but the places he could go to were very limited. At that time, his ability wasn't good enough, so he couldn't go to many places. This time, it was completely different. As long as he opened the secret door and arrived at a place, he could even explore a continent step by step. After walking through almost every nook and cranny of the starry sky, Xian Feng finally found a place with abundant resources. At the same time, he also built a few secret teleportation doors, allowing the people of the secret sects to go to other places. Even practitioners needed to communicate with each other. In addition, the secret door now had many second, third, and even fourth ring experts. Compared to the cultivators here, the secret door was much stronger. The secret door could almost dominate the outer realm. After finding a few continents where he could build a base, Lei Xingfeng directly returned to the mirror realm. Without any greetings, he immediately led everyone there. First, he had to build a production base and a livestock base. This was the foundation. As long as these 2 bases were stable, the mirror realm would be very stable. Once they reached the outer realm, the secret door's current strength would allow them to run amok in the outer realm. After moving everyone into the base, Lei Xingfeng helped set up a restriction circle. At this time, once he set up a restriction circle, even a 7th ring true body cultivator wouldn't be able to break it. Lei Xingfeng waited until the secret door had completely stabilized and built their own sect on a continent rich in resources. With his help, Lei Xingfeng cultivated many restriction circles. Only then did Lei Xingfeng transfer control of the mirror realm to Lei Xingyao. Wu Yang and Guqi didn't have any objections to this. The 2 of them already had a transcendent status in the secret door. No one would dare to challenge their authority. Even Lei Xingfeng greeted them as a disciple and a junior when he saw them, let alone others. Only then did Xian Feng bid farewell and leave. He had already reached his limit and needed to train as quickly as possible. For this, he had to return to his original place, where the resources were much more abundant than the outer space, especially the high-level resources. They were much more abundant. Opening the secret door, Lei Xingfeng stepped out and directly appeared in paradise. At this time, he discovered that paradise had been destroyed. Thinking back, Lei Xingfeng understood that this was his doing. However, there were still many places left behind in paradise. This was because Lei Xingfeng only destroyed the nameless peak and the restriction circle before floating out of paradise. Paradise was extremely vast and there were many places that Lei Xingfeng hadn't set foot in yet. Therefore, Lei Xingfeng quickly flew away. This time, he directly used his true body to fly. With his current strength, his true body was stronger than an 8th ring true body. Unless he met another 9th ring true body expert, he was invincible in this world. Soon, Lei Xingfeng saw dense restriction circles in front of him. The range was shocking. Lei Xingfeng was immediately overjoyed. He knew that only places like this had rich resources. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many restriction circles. Outside this restriction circle, there were 3 6th ring true body cultivators trying to enter the restriction circle to find materials or energy crystals. Lei Xingfeng walked in front of the 3 and said, "Everyone, you can leave now." The 3 6th ring true body cultivators were furious. One of them said, "Who do you think you are? Do you want to die?" Because the 3 of them released their true bodies, which were over 100 meters tall, Lei Xingfeng's true body looked very small. Lei Xingfeng looked up and said, "I'm doing this for your own good. Don't be ungrateful. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died." That person was furious. How dare he talk to him like this without releasing his true body? If this wasn't courting death, what was? He didn't say anything and slapped down. Lei Xingfeng looked up and didn't dodge or release his true body. Instead, he said indifferently, "You can't blame anyone for your own death." Boom! This slap landed on Lei Xingfeng's head. Chapter 990. Lei Xingfeng was like a sharp awl. Not only was he unscathed, but he had also pierced a hole in the palm of that person's true body. In other words, with the toughness of his main body, he had directly shattered the opponent's palm. That person slapped down and said, "Die." In the end, Lei Xingfeng was fine, but his palm had directly shattered. When it reached his shoulder, he finally reacted and immediately screamed in fright. It was 2F*King frightening. What kind of cultivation did one have to be able to destroy a person's true body with just their main body? Xi and Feng originally had good intentions, but seeing the 3 of them like that, he didn't bother with them anymore. Since they were going to die, it would be hard to save them even if he wanted to. Thus, he released his true body, and with just a single gigantic foot, he took over the entire area and pushed the 3 of them out. Even though the 3 of them had their main bodies, when they saw Lei Xingfeng's main body, they immediately trembled in fright. What kind of main body was this? They were below, but they could not see Lei Xingfeng's head. It was too tall. Lei Xingfeng stepped into the restriction cluster. Immediately, the entire restriction cluster erupted. However, the restriction attacks could only land on Lei Xingfeng's foot. There was no other threat at all. Lei Xingfeng walked 1,000 meters with 1 step. After taking a few steps, he stopped and observed for a while. He found that there were indeed many resources. Then he sat down and directly caused a few restriction clusters to collapse. After releasing Lei Xingfeng began to cultivate. This time, Lei Xingfeng began to cultivate in a completely awake state. Then he saw a scene that made Lei Xingfeng completely dumbfounded. Only then did he understand that when he cultivated, the world around him was doomsday. When the golden light flickered and shone out, everything around him melted rapidly like snow. Then all kinds of materials and energy crystals turned into powder. They were quickly absorbed by the main body and then poured into Lei. The entire restrictive formation collapsed, and all the useful materials turned into powder, which was absorbed by Lei Xingfeng's enormous body. Then, it was absorbed by Lei. As the restrictive formation was absorbed, the golden light extended out, and the surrounding ground began to melt. At first, the 3 cultivators were still watching foolishly. However, when they saw this doomsday-like scene, they were so scared that they turned around and ran. Unfortunately, they were still too close. In an instant, the golden light shone on them. Their true bodies could not withstand it at all and instantly collapsed and melted. Following the collapse of the true body, the main body was also finished. Under the illumination of the golden light, the main body quickly melted and flew out. It was absorbed by Lei Xingfeng's true body and was quickly collected by Lei. The three of them died silently. Even Lei Xingfeng did not know that he had killed them. The difference between the two was too great. They were not on the same level at all. In just a few days, the resources here were all swept clean by Lei Xingfeng. Whether it was on the ground or underground, they were all absorbed by Lei Yin. They were used to strengthen Lei Yin and the super restrictive formation in Lei Yin. The surroundings were already deserted. Lei Xingfeng got up. This time, he did not withdraw his true body. Instead, he directly walked forward. With one step, he crossed more than 1,000 meters. After a few steps, he came to a new area. He found a suitable place to sit down and cultivate again. Just like that, Lei Xingfeng walked through Paradise Sky and plundered all the resources here. Relying on Paradise Sky's resources, Lei Xingfeng's and Lei Yin's restrictive formations reached initial success. They condensed into one and instantly stabilized the 9 seals into one. In other words, he completely had a 9th ring true body. In this world, the 9 seals combined into one and became a 9th ring true body cultivator. Their nature was completely beyond the scope of a human. It could be said that they were the gods of this world. Their enormous body and strength could destroy this world. When Lei Xingfeng found another place to cultivate, the continent directly collapsed under the illumination of his true body. Any plant, animal, mineral, or resource that could be absorbed was absorbed. The rest turned into useless sand. At this time, Lei Xingfeng suddenly remembered that he had seen many such continents in the outer realm. They were all like this, all deserts. Now that he thought about it, perhaps they were formed by 9th ring true bodies. Thinking about it, he was shocked. There should be several 9th ring true bodies sweeping through the outer realm to make the outer realm so deserted. There were only some resources in the more remote areas. Xi and Feng understood that the appearance of a practitioner who could combine 9 seals into one was a complete tragedy to other practitioners. It was a calamity that would bring about the end of the world. Moreover, after reaching this step, Lei Xingfeng had no choice but to do it. Lei Yin released his true body. As long as he cultivated, he would crazily plunder. Even as he walked, he would unknowingly absorb the surrounding resources. Such a true body was very terrifying. Lei Xingfeng understood that he could no longer return to the mirror realm in this state. Once he opened it, the entire mirror realm and everyone inside would be absorbed by him. In other words, the entire secret door would be destroyed by him. He had to reach the peak. Otherwise, Lei Xingfeng wouldn't be able to see the people in the secret door, nor would he be able to see a Yi and his little sister. This made him extremely helpless. After thinking for a long time, he finally decided to cultivate with all his strength. When a 9th ring true body cultivator decided to cultivate with all his strength, it would be a huge disaster. However, Lei Xingfeng also knew that only by controlling his Lei Yin and his true body could he move freely in the future. Therefore, he had to cultivate. After thinking about it, Lei Xingfeng decided to cultivate in this world. He didn't want to return to the outer realm. If he did, the continents in the outer realm might not be able to withstand his cultivation. If he wanted to destroy something, he would just destroy the continental circle where heavenly paradise was located. After all, this was only a temporary location. Looking at the remains of heavenly paradise, it should have been left behind by a 9th ring senior. It could only provide one person with 9 seals. As long as this person succeeded, everything else would be destroyed. This was because the resources here could only support one cultivator to become a 9th ring true body expert. Once someone succeeded, they would definitely start plundering the resources. Otherwise, it would be impossible to sustain a 9th ring true body cultivator. In other words, Xi and Feng couldn't stop anymore. He had to reach a certain height in order to balance his true body and lightning stamp. To balance the relationship between the lightning stamp and his true body, this required an incalculable amount of resources. This was the true beginning of his expenditure. This kind of awareness was a disaster for the entire world. In fact, it was also a disaster for Lei Xingfeng. Wherever he went, there would be a state of doomsday. However, Exine Feng couldn't care less about that. He tried his best to find a place without people to train. If he found someone, he would immediately leave, because within the range of his training, no one would be able to survive. He didn't want to kill innocent people. He ran from continent to continent. As long as there was a continent without people, as long as he cultivated, the continent would be completely finished. After cultivating to the 7th continent, Lei Xingfeng found that when he cultivated, the continent was quickly sucked dry. All the resources were sucked away, leaving behind only useless sand and stone. There was a continent where not only did the ground become sand and stone, even tens of meters underground were fine sand and stone. As Lei Xingfeng's strength deepened, whenever Lei Xingfeng cultivated on a continent, he didn't need to move. He just sat on the ground and turned the entire continent into a desert. Lei Xingfeng stood up and looked at the endless desert. He couldn't help but shake his head. At this point in his cultivation, he finally understood that once a cultivator reached the peak, it would be a disaster for others. However, he still couldn't stop. He had to find a new continent to cultivate on. Lei Xingfeng took a step and disappeared. His huge body seemed to have melted into the air. Lei Xingfeng appeared on another continent. He didn't need to use a secret door to teleport. He finally had this amazing skill. Silver light flickered in his eyes. In an instant, Lei Xingfeng could see the entire continent clearly. He was 10,000 meters tall, and his unique eyes had evolved. He could see further and more clearly. There was no one on this continent, and the resources were quite good. Lei Xingfeng sat down and started cultivating again. A golden light shot out. Lei Xingfeng was already very familiar with the changes in his surroundings. He watched as everything was shattered and then sucked away by the real body and fell into Lei Yin's body. The current Lei Yin was like a bottomless pit. Any valuable resources would fall into it. It was like a bottomless pit. Anything that was thrown in would disappear in an instant. As the golden light expanded, countless resources were forcibly taken away. The entire continent began to rapidly decline. All plants and animals were quickly dying. As long as there was no one, Lei Xingfeng wouldn't feel guilty. As time passed, the entire continent's resources were swept clean. Lei Xingfeng didn't notice and continued cultivating. In the end, because the real body had swept away all the resources on the surface of the continent, Lei Xingfeng was still cultivating. At this time, the golden light on the real body gradually turned into a bluish-white, flickering silver light. When this light shone out, the entire continent trembled. The entire continent trembled violently. Soon, a faint red light emerged from the ground of the continent and quickly intertwined with the silver light emitted by Lei Xingfeng's real body. In just a moment, the red light couldn't resist the absorption of Lei Xingfeng's real body. The red light was pulled into the real body bit by bit. Lei Xingfeng didn't know what the red light represented. However, after the red light entered the real body, the combination of the real body and Lei Yin became more complete and harmonious. Therefore, he didn't stop cultivating and continued. As time passed, the red light became less and less. Then, yellow light emerged from the ground. Lei Xingfeng didn't care. Although this light wasn't a resource, it was extremely beneficial for cultivation. Chapter 991. 10 days later, both the red and yellow lights disappeared. The entire continent shook even more violently and gradually collapsed. It was as if the support of the entire continent had completely disappeared. Bottomless canyons and large cracks appeared on the surface of the continent. Soon, the cracks spread to the place where Lei Xingfeng was sitting, forcing Lei Xingfeng to float up. Then he stood up and hovered 10 meters above the ground. Looking down, he saw that the entire continent had cracked. It was as if it had shattered into pieces of porcelain. Dense cracks covered the entire continent. Lei Xingfeng gradually came to his senses. He should have taken away the core of this continent. He wasn't very clear about what it was, but he knew that only by taking away the core would the entire continent collapse. After thinking for a moment, he suddenly stretched out his hand and made a grabbing motion. An extremely powerful spatial technique erupted. In an instant, from the center of the continent, deep underground, he grabbed a flat crimson core and directly shot it up to the sky. When this thing was grabbed by his huge palm, it was like a normal person grabbing a date core. This thing also looked like a date core. It had two sharp ends and a large center. However, it was flat and covered in dense vein patterns. It was unknown what those vein patterns were. As soon as this crimson core entered his palm, before Lei Xingfeng could examine it carefully, it was directly sucked away by Lei Yin. In an instant, Lei Xingfeng shook. The restriction groups in Lei Yin's hand began to rapidly change and completely integrate. It was as if this crimson core had become the central hub of the restriction groups, increasing his strength by a large margin. Lei Xingfeng hovered above the collapsing continent. Then he watched the entire continent shatter bit by bit. Lei Xingfeng knew in his heart that this continent was like a person whose spirit had been sucked out. It had completely collapsed and would never be able to recover. The continent had completely collapsed. In other words, Lei Xingfeng's strength was enough to destroy a continent at will. In the beginning, this might be the result of cultivation. However, in the later stages of cultivation, Lei Xingfeng's casual attack could destroy a continent. This kind of strength was truly shocking. Lei Xingfeng himself didn't know how strong he was, but he knew that his strength was unfathomable. For the time being, he didn't have any opponents to test his strength against. He also knew that if he wanted to find a ninth ring true body cultivator, he would need a certain amount of luck. Maybe he would meet one in his life. Maybe he wouldn't even meet one. For the time being, Lei Xingfeng did not consider looking for another cultivator who could combine the 9 seals into one. He needed to continue cultivating. At this point, he could not stop even if he wanted to. He could only push forward bravely. If he wanted to go home, he had to continue cultivating. Looking at the continent not far from his feet, Lei Xingfeng took a step forward and arrived on another continent. He sat down and cultivated again. Soon this continent was completely decertified. Before leaving, Lei Xingfeng reached out and grabbed the core of this continent. Then he quickly left. One continent after another was destroyed. Lei Xingfeng himself was numb. In any case, he couldn't remember how many continents he had destroyed. As the number of destroyed continents reached more than 30, Lei Xingfeng's strength also reached its peak. The peak state of combining the 9 seals into one. At this time, Lei Xingfeng's true body could be big or small. He could move as he pleased. Lei Xingfeng knew that he couldn't go home for the time being. He needed to test his strength and actions to see if he could not control the destruction of continents. Therefore, after reaching this level of strength, Lei Xingfeng knew that he had to go on a long journey. With Lei Xingfeng's current strength, he could clearly see the entire continent. No matter how far it was, he could cross it with a single step. After thinking about it, Lei Xingfeng took a step forward. In an instant, he saw the real starry sky. When Lei Xingfeng came here, he had entered this place after taking the wrong path. This was the real starry sky that he had seen in his previous life. Of course, it was not the location of his previous life. It was a new starry sky. There were only a few planets and shining stars in the distance. Xian Feng turned back to look. A distorted space separated the two of them. He seemed to have understood something. Could the world he was originally in be the so-called small world? Without thinking too much about it, Lei Xingfeng stared at the planet in the distance. He knew that it was very far from him. He tried to take a step forward. In an instant, Lei Xingfeng disappeared from his original position and appeared above the planet. This step made Lei Xingfeng overjoyed. In other words, he had the ability to teleport long distances. This ability made him excited. Then, he took another step forward. Lei Xingfeng appeared on the surface of the planet. Then, he saw an extremely familiar scene. This was also a barren planet. Sand and dust filled the sky. However, he clearly knew that at least one person who had merged 9 seals had entered this place and forcefully plundered the entire planet. Lei Xingfeng sighed. He did not have any nostalgia for this planet. After all, a place that had been visited by a cultivator who had merged 9 seals into one was really worthless. Therefore, he stared at a distant star system. With his current eyesight, he knew where the nearest star system was. Therefore, He took a tentative step forward. To his surprise, he actually shortened the distance by more than half with a single step. Hovering in space, he took another step forward. With this step, he entered the star system. However, Lei Xingfeng had already marked the location of the star system on his unique secret door. This meant that once he used the secret door, he could directly return to the point where he came out and smoothly return to that small world. Therefore, Lei Xingfeng began to move forward without worry. He walked freely in the starry sky. After looking at a few planets in a row, Lei Xingfeng was surprised to find that experts who had merged 9 seals into one had come here. It was really too obvious. Every planet seemed to have gone through the end of the world. They were all completely barren. On a planet, Lei Xingfeng saw a row of footprints. Those huge footprints were obviously left by a 9th ring true body. However, Lei Xingfeng realized that there was still a gap between these footprints and his own. His true body's footprints were one size larger. This meant that Lei Xingfeng's strength should be stronger than this person's. In fact, Lei Xingfeng had been planning his own Lei. More than 90% of the restriction communities were suitable. As for the remaining restriction communities, he felt that they were useful, but he did not know what they were used for. He had already erased the restriction communities that were clearly useless. This was also an extremely important factor in his smooth advancement. In addition, he had also obtained a heavenly seal, which was like adding wings to a tiger. This was why he could advance to the pinnacle of merging 9 seals into one so quickly. However, he was still lacking in resources. Lei himself also needed to store some resources. The quantity of these resources was calculated in massive quantities. Even if Lei Xingfeng destroyed dozens of continents, the resources he obtained would only allow him to advance to the pinnacle of merging 9 seals into one. The resources he needed to replenish were much, much more. This required him to accumulate bit by bit. The resources of a planet were much more than the resources of a continent. Originally, it was impossible to obtain them. However, after merging 9 seals into one, he had special methods. The resources on a planet could be quickly plundered. He did not need to personally excavate them. After searching for a long time, Lei Xingfeng ran further and further. Finally, in a star system, Lei Xingfeng found a planet that no one had been to before. This planet had many resources, but there was no atmosphere. There were large areas of rocks and many craters. It looked very barren, but Lei Xingfeng knew that this planet contained many resources. After finding a relatively flat area, Lei Xingfeng's huge true body sat down. This was his first time collecting resources on a planet. Golden light mixed with silver spots emerged from Lei Xingfeng's true body. Suddenly, everything around him began to melt. The rocks quickly turned into gravel and scattered under the light. A large amount of useful materials flew up and quickly gathered toward his true body. Soon, Lei Xingfeng discovered that the planet's surface was curved, so the golden light's range was limited. Although his true body was extremely large, it was impossible to illuminate the entire planet. The huge, true body gradually floated into the air and then began to drift. As it moved, everything around it melted. The entire planet's surface began to turn into desertification. Once Lei Xingfeng moved over, the ground would completely turn into sand. A lot of resources were absorbed by Lei Yin. Lei Xingfeng also discovered a strange thing. The resources he absorbed would be processed by the restriction community, forming the materials and energy he needed. Lei Xingfeng was especially overjoyed when he saw a large amount of energy crystals. These energy crystals seemed to grow out of the restriction community. A large number of stalagmites grew out of the restriction community. This reminded Lei Xingfeng of the stalagmite crystals he collected in the restriction community in the past. Unexpectedly, they were produced in the restriction community. With a thought, a huge stalagmite appeared in his hand. He swiped his finger across the stalagmite, revealing the energy crystal inside. After carefully inspecting the crystal's quality, Lei Xingfeng was very satisfied. This was a top-grade crystal, and its volume was huge. After drifting around the planet's surface twice, the entire planet turned into a desert. Immediately after, Lei Xingfeng's true body shone with a bright silver light. Suddenly, the entire planet began to tremble violently. A large amount of colorful light floated out from the ground. Lei Xingfeng's true body produced a huge suction force. In an instant, the colorful light covered his body and quickly fused with Lei Yin. In an instant, Lei Xingfeng was intoxicated. The resources he absorbed were quickly turned into various materials under the illumination of the colorful light. So this was also possible. Lei Xingfeng stood up and landed on the planet. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the air. Suddenly, the entire planet began to collapse. Chapter 992. It was a ghastly sight. Lei Xingfeng felt as if he was about to destroy the world. Deep trenches appeared on the ground, followed by eruptions of magma. Countless streams of red magma burst out, forming clouds of smoke on the surface of the planet. Lei Xingfeng's huge, true body flew away from the surface of the planet, reaching a height of 1,000 meters. He pulled hard with his palm, and as if there was an invisible rope, he directly grabbed a cloud of colorful dust from the core of the planet. Lei Xingfeng was slightly stunned. This was completely different from the things he grabbed from the mainland. What was this? However, as long as he could grab something, whether it was the core of the mainland or the colorful dust from the planet, Lei Xingfeng would not let it go. The colorful dust quickly rose and fell into Lei Xingfeng's palm, forming a small hill. Lei Xingfeng's huge palm clenched tightly, and the colorful dust was instantly condensed into a ball. In an instant, Lei Yin swallowed the ball. Lei Xingfeng was immediately stunned. Lei Yin's body began to expand rapidly, as if he had taken medicine. Lei Yin's body instantly expanded by 1,000 times. After about 10 days, Lei Yin finally completely digested this strange substance and finally shrank back to its original size. Lei Xingfeng breathed a sigh of relief. If Lei Yin could not shrink, then it would not be able to be absorbed into his body. At that time, it would be troublesome. Fortunately, it had recovered. He looked down at the planet. The entire planet had become a fireball. Smoke and dust curled up, flames splashed, and magma flowed. This planet might have been destroyed, or it might have been reborn because of this. Of course, this had nothing to do with Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng had plundered 7 planets in a row, and each of them had been destroyed by him. This time, he targeted another planet. It was not too far from the star. With his eyesight, he actually saw a trace of green on the planet, and his interest immediately soared. He took a step forward and arrived outside the planet's atmosphere. This was a green planet with many plants and a large ocean. Lei Xingfeng felt very close to it. After shrinking his true body, Lei Xingfeng was only 6 or 7 meters tall. His true body was highly compatible with his true body. He took a step forward and arrived on the surface of the planet. This was the coast of the ocean. A golden beach formed a zigzag line along the ocean. It was a very beautiful planet. Flying into the air, Xian Feng scanned the area, but he didn't find any traces of humans. There were a few strange animals here, some ferocious beasts, some herbivores, but he didn't find any truly powerful beasts that practitioners could easily deal with. This planet's volume and surface area were very large, many times larger than the continents Xian Feng had seen before. Xian Feng hesitated. He felt that this planet was suitable for a secret door. If he moved the secret door here, perhaps it would be able to develop and grow. Lei Xingfeng took a closer look. The planet was rich in resources. It would be a pity if he cultivated here. After all, this kind of planet was very rare. It would be a pity if he plundered all in one go and caused the planet to collapse. Lei Xingfeng stored the coordinates into the secret door. He let go of this planet for the time being and continued to look for new planets. In fact, Lei Xingfeng had cultivated to this point out of habit. Every time he finished cultivating, he could not help but look for the next planet. It was as if he would not feel at ease if he did not do so. In this way, the planet he found would be completely finished. As long as Lei Xingfeng went up, the planet would not be able to escape the fate of collapse. After 2 more planets had collapsed, Lei Xingfeng finally decided to stop. At this point, he was sure that he could control Lei Yin. In other words, he could control Lei Yin's cultivation. Everything around him would not turn into dust because of Lei Yin's automatic cultivation. Therefore, Lei Xingfeng returned to the Green Planet. This was the last place he planned to find for the people in the Mirror Realm. After all, this place was much better than the Small World. However, Lei Xingfeng still built a large secret door. From here, they could enter the outer space. After all, that world was their route. After everything was done, Lei Xingfeng returned to the Small World and appeared directly in the Mirror Realm. Lei Xingfeng's return once again caused a sensation in the Mirror Realm. Because it had not been long this time, some people were still looking for a suitable continent to build a base. So far, they had not found a suitable base. As time passed, there were more and more ordinary people. Therefore, finding a suitable base had become the most urgent task for the secret sect. They needed a base that was large enough to support more people. Lei Xingfeng also thought for a long time before he decided to move the secret door to a planet. In fact, the Small World was not safe. Once someone advanced to the point where the 9 seals merged into one, it would be a huge disaster for them. Just one such disaster was enough to destroy the entire secret door. On the other hand, planets were better. One had to know that there were thousands of star systems in the big world scattered in the starry sky. If one was not lucky enough, they would not be able to find them. Therefore, Lei Xingfeng made up his mind to move the secret door to a planet. He sent people to find Wu Yang, Gu Qi, Thunderstorm, and other higher-ups and invited them to his courtyard. Lei Xingfeng said, "Ancestor, Master, Yi, I'm sorry. I plan to move everyone again. Leave this place and go to the outside world." Wu Yang smiled and said, "A Feng, are you okay? How's your cultivation?" Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "Yes, it's done. I can control myself now. I won't implicate everyone." Thunderstorm nodded and said, "That's good. A Feng, what's the purpose of this migration?" Lei Xingfeng said, "It's to find an excellent place with enough space and space. It also has enough resources for the secret door to develop. That's why I want everyone to move there." Gucci said straightforwardly, "I have no problem with it." Gaoyi nodded and said, "I have no problem with it either. I believe a Feng won't make a mistake. He has always had a good eye." Wu Yang said, "I'm not doubting a Feng, but a Feng, what's a big world and a small world?" He did not understand at all. Lei Xingfeng did not know how to explain it either. He was using some concepts from his previous life to differentiate between the two worlds. There was no special meaning to it. He said, "Founder, don't worry about this. Anyway, that place is much better than here." Wu Yang was speechless. After a while, he said, "Well, you have the ability and strength to take the hidden door further and make it stronger. I'll listen to you." Wu Yang nodded. Wu Yang was speechless. Since Wu Yang had agreed, the others did not have any objections. After all, Lei Xingfeng was here. They all believed that Lei Xingfeng could help everyone in the secret door. Lei Xianyao said, "Brother, you won't be leaving anymore?" Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "As long as there are no accidents, I'll probably be here. However, I'll be going out often." Lei Xianyao immediately let out a sigh of relief and said, "All right, then I'm relieved." Lei Xingfeng said, "Fortunately, you all came back this time. We haven't decided on a base yet. Tell all the disciples to come back. I'll take everyone there soon." Everyone agreed loudly and left separately. Of course, Wu Yang, Gu Qi, Thunderstorm, and Lei Xianyao all stayed to accompany Lei Xingfeng. It was rare for them to come back, so they had to talk. Especially now that Lei Xingfeng was an expert who had merged 9 seals into one. There were many questions about cultivation that everyone wanted to ask him. Gu Qi, Lei Xingfeng's master, was especially curious. He said, "A Feng, what did you do when you went to so many places?" Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly and said, "What else could I do? I want to look for resources. However, the destructive power of a 9th ring true body is too great. Now I know why our secret door declined so quickly in our hometown." Wu Yang was curious and asked why. Lei Xingfeng said, Actually, after cultivating to your level, you should have some idea of how much resources and energy are needed. With such a group of people, the resources of a place will be quickly exhausted. Once the resources are exhausted, the cultivator will have a hard time continuing. And to reach 7th ring true body and 8th ring true body, they will use up a lot of resources. As for merging 9 seals into one, 9th ring true body, one cultivation is enough to destroy an entire continent. How many continents can be destroyed in this world? Even if there are many continents, they can't support the consumption of so many cultivators. Everyone was shocked. Wu Yang said, "A phone, are you like this too? One cultivation and you'll destroy an entire continent?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Of course. Otherwise, why would I stay away from everyone? I'm afraid that if I'm not careful, not only will I destroy the mirror world, but also the secret door. No one can survive while I'm cultivating, even if they're 8th ring true body experts." Everyone was shocked. What kind of monster was this? Lei Xingfeng could only smile bitterly. He said, "I didn't think that merging 9 seals into one would be so cruel and destructive. Luckily, I didn't do it in the secret door, but on Nameless Peak." At that time, there were many 8th ring true bodies. Wu Yang was shocked. Many 8th ring true bodies? How can there be so many 8th ring true bodies? I haven't even seen a single 8th ring true body cultivator. Gucci said, "What happened to those 8th ring true bodies cultivators?" Xi and Feng spoke. "They're all dead. As long as one of them manages to become a 9th ring true body, which is the 9 seals fusing into one, the others will all be buried as nutrients. Their seals will be taken away, and all the resources they collected will go to the one who succeeded." Lei Xingyao was speechless. So scary. Luckily, Big Brother succeeded. Everyone was shocked. If anyone else succeeded, Xi and Feng wouldn't be able to live. He wouldn't even be able to escape. One must know that at Nameless Peak, Xi and Feng couldn't enter the mirror world. If anyone succeeded, Xi and Feng wouldn't be able to block or escape. He would be dead for sure. Chapter 993. Wu Yang said, "It's too dangerous." Thunderstorm shook his head and said, "A Feng, did you know this would happen?" Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. "If I knew, I wouldn't have gone to Nameless Peak. I didn't know how scary it would be once the 9 seals merge into one." Wu Yang said, "Luckily a foam advanced." Everyone felt like they had survived a disaster. Lei Xingfeng said, "Cultivators nowadays don't understand what it means to have the 9 seals merge into one. Luckily, I found a better place. I'll go there to cultivate in the future. It won't affect the people here. Also, if we move there, we'll have a chance to grow stronger." Wu Yang said, "Is that the great world you were talking about?" Lei Xingfeng nodded. "Yes, that's my cultivation world." Gucci asked, "How big is that place?" "I mean the great world." Lei Xingfeng said, "Infinitely, infinitely big." Wu Yang said, "Do we have a chance to come back here?" Lei Xingfeng said, "No problem. I'll leave a secret door for the hidden sect. You can use it when you have 5 true ring bodies." Wu Yang sighed in relief. "That's good." Lei Xingfeng said, "I'll cultivate the mirror world again and make it stronger." Everyone was overjoyed. The mirror world was the foundation of the hidden sect. A strong mirror world meant a stable foundation. After Lei Xingfeng gained control of the mirror world, his understanding of it surpassed everyone here. Even if the mirror world was controlled by Lei Xingyao, he was confident that he could cultivate it again. Cultivating the mirror world was originally a very complicated matter, but Xi and Feng was an expert who could combine 9 seals into one. Looking back at the mirror world, he understood that it was actually very easy to cultivate. The main reason for this was the formation of the mirror world, which relied on space restrictions to form it. Spatial restrictions were not difficult for Lei Xingfeng. Ever since he merged the 9 seals merge into one, he had a basic understanding of restrictions. Now, he could easily set up restrictions. As long as he willed it, the restrictions would appear naturally. It was very magical. That was why Xi and Feng only needed to sit in the courtyard to practice the mirror world, but he hadn't started yet and was only talking to everyone. This opportunity was hard to come by, and there might not be such a time in the future, and everyone might not have the time to gather together. Moreover, Lei Xingfeng had a vague feeling that it would be very difficult for him to be with the hidden sect in the future. He didn't know what to do. Although this life was more exciting than the previous one, this kind of life wasn't what he really wanted. After 10 days, everyone returned to the mirror world. Lei Xingfeng also cultivated the mirror world again and added a lot of restrictions, especially defensive ones. There were also some spatial restrictions. These restrictions were very powerful. Even an 8th ring true body cultivator wouldn't be able to withstand them. Lei Xingfeng regained control of the mirror world because he had to control it for it to move. If he let Lei Xingyao control it, it would move with her. After coming out of the mirror world, Lei Xingfeng took a step and instantly left the outer realm. The dangerous path before was now a smooth one. He could cross a huge space with just a casual walk. In a moment, Lei Xingfeng arrived at the outer realm. He then continued on his way. In the outer realm, he used super long-distance teleportation and quickly arrived at the planet he found earlier. The mirror world also followed. Xi and Feng could clearly feel it. After arriving here, Lei Xingfeng returned control of the mirror world to Lei Xingyao. Only then did he let everyone out of the mirror world. In an instant, a large group of people appeared on the planet. This was a green planet with countless plants, rivers, and lakes. There was also a vast ocean. The people in the secret sect could be considered to have seen a lot of things, but everything about this planet was still new to them. Wu Yang said, "This place is not bad, Feng, but if we want to move again, it will be very difficult, right?" Lei Xingfeng said, "I will build a large teleportation formation that will allow everyone to return to the outer realm. Of course, I don't want to use it unless it is absolutely necessary. This is just a way out." Wu Yang nodded. "This place is a bit different from where we came from. It feels a bit strange." Gucci also said, "Yes, I also have a strange feeling. However, it's not uncomfortable. It's a sense of novelty. I hope we can start a new world here." Wu Yang said, "Yes. Fortunately, we still have a lot of people. If we let them all out, we can set up a few bases. Feng, you have to help us set up a restriction circle." Lei Xingfeng said with a smile, "No problem. It's easy to set up a restriction circle." For him, setting up a restriction circle was really something that could be done with a thought. All the materials and energy were provided by Lei Yin. He only needed to use a little of the materials and energy that he plundered previously to form a large restriction circle. He led the higher-ups of the hidden sect to fly around the planet's surface, looking for a suitable place to set up a base. In the end, they found that there were many places that could be used to set up a base. This was an excellent planet. The entire planet was full of vitality. For everyone, it was indeed better to set up a base in the hidden sect here than in the outer realm. A large number of ordinary people poured out of the mirror realm. A large number of building materials, livestock, and poultry were brought out. The ordinary people of the hidden sect were already familiar with this. After many migrations, they already had ready-made experience and skilled migration methods. All kinds of buildings rose from the ground. Lei Xingfeng led the higher-ups of the hidden sect to set up a restriction circle. A large number of restrictions suddenly appeared on the ground. Wu Yang and the others were dumbfounded. As Lei Xingfeng walked, the restrictions grew like weeds. When the restriction circle was formed, Lei Xingfeng only needed to point his finger to activate the entire restriction circle. In an instant, all the animals in the restriction circle were killed. It was basically impossible for living things to survive in the restriction circle. The ecology of the restriction circle was to destroy all living things that could move. Lei Xingfeng set up 4 restriction circles in one go. They were all super large restriction circles, including plains, grasslands, seashores, and mountainous terrains. They all had specific areas for planting and breeding. The plains were for food production, the grasslands for grazing, the seashores for fishing, and the mountainous terrains for breeding all kinds of poultry and livestock. In addition, a large piece of land in the mountainous area was specially used to plant the spiritual herbs and spiritual medicines that Lei Xingyao needed. This was also a very important part of the hidden sect. The ordinary people and low-level practitioners of the hidden sect needed a lot of spiritual medicines to maintain a certain population base. In the wild, there were all kinds of diseases, all kinds of acclimatization, and without spiritual medicines, the entire hidden sect's ordinary population would have a hard time surviving. Ordinary people were the foundation of the hidden sect. Therefore, the practitioners of the hidden sect would never bully them. Instead, they would provide the best protection. They were all the treasures of the hidden sect. In the past, they didn't pay much attention to ordinary people. However, as the hidden sect kept moving away from the human population, these people became the true foundation of the hidden sect. No one dared to ignore them. The practitioners also helped the ordinary people build houses and arrange all kinds of things. Because practitioners were much stronger than ordinary people, they did a lot of the heavy work. Lei Xingfeng could already move mountains and overturn seas. If he needed to flatten a mountain or fill a small lake, it wouldn't be difficult at all. Therefore, the most heavy work was actually him. After dozens of days of hard work, 4.5 bases were successfully established. There were teleportation portals between the bases, and a secret door was located in the center of the 4 bases. It was a beautiful island in the middle of the lake. From there, one could directly enter the mirror realm. It only took 100 or so days to complete all the arrangements. After living here for a while, everyone felt very good. This world was many times better than the world on the mainland. After settling down, Lei Xingfeng planned to go deep into the starry sky to find the resources he needed. During this time, he didn't cultivate and instinctively felt uneasy. Lei Xingfeng felt a chill in his heart. Even if he didn't want to continue cultivating, after the 9 seals merged into one, he couldn't stop anymore. He was forced to look for resources to support his cultivation. One day, Lei Xingfeng quietly left the mirror realm and the planet. This time, he didn't say anything to anyone. He left quietly just like that. This time, he didn't come back. He teleported all the way and soon arrived at a new star system. He saw a few planets and immediately went to one of them. Lei Xingfeng sat down and started cultivating. When the golden and silver light flashed, the entire planet began to shake violently. A large amount of resources were crazily absorbed by Lei Yin. With the support of countless resources, Lei Xingfeng's real body skyrocketed again. Suddenly, Lei Xingfeng discovered that the entire planet was rapidly shrinking. His real body was growing crazily. When he looked at the planet again, he couldn't help but be stunned. Lei Xingfeng could even grab an extremely large planet with one hand. He looked at his real body strangely and discovered that his real body had grown to a terrifying extent. He grabbed the planet and squeezed it. The entire planet exploded in his palm. He absorbed all the useful parts and scattered the useless parts. Suddenly, there were many small meteors in the void. Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but laugh. He had obtained a lot of materials and energy by squeezing a planet. As for destroying an uninhabited planet, Lei Xingfeng didn't feel any guilt at all. Chapter 994. With this kind of strength, Lei Xingfeng was very happy. He floated in the void, took a step forward, and found a second planet. Using the same method, he reached out and grabbed the planet. With a little force, he directly crushed it. In an instant, all the resources on this planet were absorbed by him. Then, Lei Xingfeng set his eyes on another planet. Just like that, one planet after another was crushed. The resources collected made Lei Xingfeng quite satisfied. Every time he crushed a planet, he felt full. Although this feeling was extremely short, it was completely different from when he was cultivating on the mainland. Soon, all the planets in a star system were crushed, leaving only a star that was still emitting a scorching light. Because of the impression he had from his previous life, Lei Xingfeng did not dare to lay his hands on a star. After clearing a star system and leaving countless fragments in the void, Lei Xingfeng took a step forward and arrived at another star system. He continued his boring crushing of planets and collecting resources. Among them, there were a few green planets that Lei Xingfeng kept. He set up a teleportation formation on them that led directly to the planet where the secret door was located. In the future, if the resources on the planet where the secret door was located were exhausted, they could use the teleportation formation to come here. Just like that, Lei Xingfeng went further and further. The more he went, the more planets he destroyed. Gradually, Lei Xingfeng found that he did not understand the level of strength he had reached. Anyway, once again, his curiosity was piqued. He crushed a star, which was the so-called sun in his previous life, but his real body was not damaged at all. Even he was completely shocked. The surging energy made him feel like he was about to explode. However, after growing to this day, Lei Yin successfully obtained this energy and converted it into a large number of energy crystals. He swept through one star system after another. Even though Lei Xingfeng used such a powerful method to collect resources, he only occupied a very small part of the vast universe. This star system had hundreds of millions of star systems. How many could Lei Xingfeng destroy? However, as Lei Xingfeng cultivated, he began to feel that something was wrong. The more he cultivated, the heavier his real body became. In the end, he was shocked to find that his real body could no longer be stored in Lei Yin. One had to know that his real body could now hold a planet with just one hand. Due to the lack of a comparison, Lei Xingfeng's real body might not be that big if he looked at it from the void. However, he knew very well that the size of his real body had reached a terrifying level. This was not what Lei Xingfeng really wanted to pursue, but he could no longer change it. Reaching the peak meant reaching a certain threshold. However, Lei Xingfeng did not know what would happen once this threshold was exceeded. Lei Xingfeng realized that he could no longer stop. His real body was being controlled by Lei Yin. At the beginning, he could still move freely. However, now that he was here, everything was under Lei Yin's control. As his real body rushed towards a new star system, the uneasiness in his heart reached its peak. At this moment, he began to ponder how to escape. Lei Xingfeng's real body watched helplessly as his real body rapidly crushed planets and stars. He swept through and plundered everything along the way. Lei Xingfeng's heart trembled with fear. One had to know that the amount of resources he had collected was already very frightening. How was he going to use up all these resources? This should not be a requirement of his real body. There must have been some other change. However, Lei Xingfeng did not understand this change at all. This caused Lei Xingfeng to fall into the biggest crisis he had ever faced since he started cultivating. Moreover, it was a fatal crisis. Lei Xingfeng's real body was sweating profusely. Although he was extremely frightened, he could only follow his real body. As for the two spiritual objects in Lei Yin's body, they were completely silent. It was unknown whether they had disappeared or merged with Lei Yin. The only thing that comforted Lei Xingfeng was that the secret door and the mirror realm were still there. He had not implicated them. However, if this trend continued, Lei Xingfeng really did not know what would happen. When his real body was out of control, his real body was especially helpless. It could only follow his real body and wander around in search of resources. As for his real body, it seemed like it had been forgotten by his real body. As time passed, Lei Xingfeng's real body grew bigger and bigger. Every time it took a step, it would appear in a star system and completely destroy that star system. Lei Xingfeng gradually became numb and drifted with the flow. He did not know how to stop his real body, nor did he know how to escape. As his real body grew bigger and stronger, he became more and more desperate. After an unknown amount of time and countless star systems, the connection between Lei Xingfeng's real body and his real body became weaker and weaker. His real body began to form its own body. Today, Xian Feng was deep in thought, thinking about how he had reached this step. One must know that he had always been extremely careful, never letting anything out of his control, but this time he had let his true body out of his control without him noticing. The starting date should have been when he crushed a star. Then his real body began to move on its own. Lei Xingfeng's real body was helpless. Passing by one star system after another, he watched as his true body destroyed one star system after another. His heart was filled with extreme fear. Then, something that frightened Lei Xingfeng even more happened. His real body took a step and directly charged forward, destroying a few star systems at a time. The strength of his real body made Lei Xingfeng stunned. It was too ruthless. His real body turned into a shadow and then charged forward in the starry sky. Lei Xingfeng could not grasp it at all, but he knew in his heart that Lei Yin's change should have reached a certain critical point and then started to operate on its own, excluding him, the master. At this point, Lei Xingfeng could only watch. His real body became stronger as his real body became stronger, but even so, he still could not control his real body. In space, his real body was like a tank that had gone out of control. It charged forward mindlessly, and its speed was frightening. According to Lei Xingfeng's estimation, it might be faster than the speed of light. Any planet or star, as long as it collided with the real body, would explode and lose everything absorbed by the real body, to the point that Xian Feng was suspicious. Where did such a large amount of resources go? After an unknown amount of time, Lei Xingfeng gradually became muddle-headed. He watched numbly. He did not know how many star systems his real body had collided with anyway. What was very strange was that Lei Yin seemed to know where the danger was and where the benefits were. Along the way, he did not encounter any danger. There was even one time when Lei Xingfeng saw a huge meteorite belt. His real body actually charged into it without hesitation. In an instant, countless flashes lit up. The harvest of this meteorite belt was extremely huge. Gradually, his real body continued to grow and showed signs of solidifying. In other words, his real body was no longer composed of energy, but of solid matter. As his real body's strength increased infinitely, Lei Xingfeng saw another scene that terrified him. He saw his real body raise his hand from time to time, and a bolt of lightning struck into the distance. Anything in the path of the lightning was shattered and then swept back by the lightning. The real body was like a large luminous body, crazily moving through the void, destroying everything in its path. Lei Xingfeng thought about it carefully and kept breaking out in cold sweat. If this was the original small world, the small world would definitely disappear completely. Nothing could stop the real body. His godlike true body could destroy the heavens and earth. Fortunately, this was a macro world with an endless starry sky and countless galaxies. Even if his true body was so perverted, the number of galaxies he destroyed was only a small part of the entire starry sky. It had no effect on the macro world at all. Lei Xingfeng felt that he was getting farther and farther away from the planet where the mirror realm was. He gradually lost the connection. In other words, with the increase of distance and time, he might not be able to find the way back. However, at this point, Lei Xingfeng couldn't care less. He didn't know what the consequences would be if his real body kept on ramming. He also didn't know when he would be able to gain control of his real body. He didn't even know if he could survive. Lei Xingfeng looked at the distant starry sky with a bit of sadness. In any case, he didn't expect this result. He was so strong that he couldn't control it. If he had known this result, he might not have tried to combine the 9 seals when he was at the 8th ring true body. The lightning that came out of the real body could actually cross space and land directly on distant galaxies. It could destroy planets in orbit and even stars. A large amount of material was absorbed through space. This is the god of thunder. This is the thunder monarch. Lei Xingfeng looked at it with a bitter smile. As more resources were absorbed, the real body's attack power became stronger. The surrounding galaxies were almost wiped out. As long as the real body passed by, the surrounding galaxies would be swept clean. In the later stages, the real body didn't even need to ram. It could plunder everything in a galaxy just by passing by. During this time, Lei Xingfeng also saw a few almighties who tried to stop the real body from plundering. It was the first time he saw almighties in the starry sky. Lei Xingfeng wanted to communicate with them. He was very happy, but the real body didn't listen to his command. Moreover, the real body's attack was very terrifying. Those almighties couldn't get close to the real body. They were blasted to pieces by the real body's lightning. No almighties could get close to Lei Xingfeng. No almighties could resist the real body's attack. Lei Xingfeng felt that the real body had the ability to destroy everything. Whether it was people or objects, nothing could stop it. As he wandered through the starry sky, as the destruction progressed, he would find one or more powerful beings coming out to stop him every once in a while. Perhaps they were humans, or perhaps they were strange creatures. In any case, they did not succeed in stopping his lightning-fast true body. Chapter 995. A monster with a huge body suddenly appeared in the path of the real body. In an instant, the two collided. This monster's body was smaller than the real body, but it was already the largest living creature Lei Xingfeng had ever seen. Its body was only half the size of the real body, and its body was covered with sharp thorns. It looked like a long, round rod covered with thorns. Ripples appeared in the entire starry sky. This collision directly destroyed the surrounding stellar systems, and the strange creature was also hit in half. As a result, Lei Xingfeng's real body emitted a large amount of lightning, and in an instant, this thing was directly blasted into smithereens. However, the resources provided by this thing made the real body feel as if it had obtained a treasure. Lei Xingfeng's real body could feel countless resources pouring into it, including the surrounding stellar systems that were destroyed. Lei Xingfeng felt a strong vitality directly pouring into his real body. At this moment, he had a slight feeling that he could control the real body. However, as a large amount of resources were absorbed, this trace of control dissipated. However, Lei Xingfeng understood a principle. That was, if the real body was not strong enough, it was not qualified to control the real body. This made him very depressed. With the influx of vitality, Lei Xingfeng's real body was also crazily strengthening. Lei Xingfeng was very clear about this. Waiting for an opportunity, Lei Xingfeng had already lost all hope of the real body. He just wanted to get rid of the real body, even if it meant that his strength would decrease. Xian Feng started to look forward to meeting more almighty experts, hoping to obtain life force from them. The so-called life force was a strange feeling he had. When an almighty expert was killed by his true body, the benefits he would obtain would be much more than the true body, while the benefits he would obtain from destroying a galaxy would be far less. However, there were many stellar systems, but powerful beings were extremely rare. This made him very depressed. Occasionally, one or two powerful beings would appear, but the difference in strength between them and the real body was too great, and the supplement to the real body was much worse. Along the way, Lei Xingfeng had been waiting for an opportunity. Lei Xingfeng believed that there must be a very powerful person in this great world. No matter what it was, it could be an evolution of a beast or a human cultivation. In any case, he believed that he was not the only one in this world with such a powerful real body. After an unknown amount of time, at this point, the meaning of time was not very important. Lei Xingfeng no longer paid attention to the outside world. Instead, he focused on transferring resources from Lei Yin to strengthen his real body. Although he could not control the real body, he could still obtain the resources he needed from Lei Yin or the real body. Bit by bit, strengthening his real body and making himself stronger. This was also a kind of cultivation. Slowly, Lei Xingfeng felt his own strength, but this strength was not worth mentioning compared to the real body. Apart from cultivation, Lei Xingfeng could not do anything else. He could only passively let the real body carry him. At this time, he missed his courtyard in the mirror realm. He missed Wu Yang, Gu Qi, Yi, his little sister, and Fatty's delicious food. Unfortunately, these were all out of his reach. He did not know where the real body had rushed to. In any case, everything around him was very unfamiliar. When Lei Xingfeng woke up from his cultivation, he discovered this. As for the coordinates he had left when he first came out, they had long disappeared. They were too far away. On this day, Lei Xingfeng saw the real body explode with bolts of lightning and instantly shatter a nearby star system. Specks of light flickered in the distance. Lei Xingfeng knew that this star system was finished. At this moment, a ray of light shone from there. As this ray of light flickered, a silver line suddenly chased over. Because the real body was extremely large and fast, the silver line gradually fell behind. Lei Xingfeng was anxious. He knew that it must be an almighty. Perhaps the real body had destroyed his hometown or the planet he lived on and was chasing after him. Lei Xingfeng really wanted to stop, whether it was fighting or crashing. However, he did not want the real body to continue flying forward. Therefore, he tried his best to control Lei Yin. After all, Lei Yin was cultivated by him. Although he could not completely control the real body, he could still slow it down. Sure enough, as the real body slowed down, it actually only slowed down a little, and the silver line behind it shot over. The appearance of a gigantic true body, Xian Feng's shock was no less than that man's. Without waiting for the real body to come close, the real body suddenly exploded with countless bolts of lightning and struck the person directly. The power that could destroy a planet or even a star system was blocked by the person. In an instant, layers of flames emerged from the person's body and blocked the lightning. At this moment, the real body started to pay attention. In an instant, the real body stopped in the void and faced the person who was still charging over. Lei Xingfeng knew at a glance that this was also a guy who had merged 9 seals into one. He was very envious because this person could control his real body. The person quickly rushed over and suddenly stopped. The 2 huge real bodies faced each other from a distance. Lei Xingfeng's real body immediately rushed over to the other party. This kind of craziness shocked even Lei Xingfeng. Countless bolts of lightning bombarded the other party. However, the other party released layers of strange flames and tried his best to block the lightning attack. Finally, the 2 parties approached each other. Lei Xingfeng's real body suddenly punched, and the other party did the same. Lei Xingfeng watched the 2 fists collide. The entire void distorted. He held his breath and waited for the result of the collision. Perhaps the real body of the opponent would collapse, or perhaps his real body would collapse. Perhaps both would collapse at the same time, or perhaps it would be a draw. This made him very excited. To be honest, he could no longer tolerate his current life. As long as there was a result, no matter what it was, he could accept it. In the void, no matter how big the collision was, it was silent. Only the flames and lightning could be seen fluctuating and forming huge circular ripples. In an instant, Lei Xingfeng could feel his real body trembling violently. He could even see large cracks forming on his real body. Then, a large amount of resources poured out of Lei Yin and quickly repaired the damage to his real body. On the other hand, the other party was a little worse. His whole body was covered in large cracks. Lei Xingfeng could almost hear the sound of his real body collapsing. The other party was quite surprised. He did not expect his opponent to have the upper hand in this collision. Before he could do anything, his real body seemed to have inherited Lei Xingfeng's fighting skills. Then, he crashed into the other party's chest. His 2 huge fists were like beating drums. He attacked left and right crazily. It was an extremely terrifying attack. In addition to the 2 huge fists, there were also countless bolts of lightning that crazily slashed towards the other party. In an instant, the other party was stunned. However, the other party was also a veteran. He also attacked back crazily. In an instant, Lei Xingfeng only felt dizzy. This kind of shock was simply fatal. This consumption was simply terrifying. Lei Xingfeng felt his real body begin to weaken. However, the other party was even worse. The other party's real body began to collapse, especially the place where the 2 huge fists attacked. Lei Xingfeng suddenly gained control of his real body. He instinctively slammed his head against the other party's head. In an instant, the other party completely collapsed. Then, Lei Xingfeng's real body could not withstand it either. The 2 huge real bodies collapsed at the same time. In an instant, the 2 real bodies gathered together. The collapsed real bodies intertwined and disappeared in an instant. Lei Xingfeng landed on a piece of land. Then he suddenly understood. His real body and the other party's real body had directly turned into a small world. The reason he was lucky to survive was because he had actually broken free from the shackles of his real body. In this small world, he had already become the master. If the other party was still alive, then he would be another master. As for whether that person was alive or not, Lei Xingfeng was completely unsure. Standing on the land, there was nothing on this land. However, it was extremely rich in resources. Lei Xingfeng no longer needed resources to cultivate. He was a godlike existence here. With a long sigh, it was impossible to go home. Then, he would continue to live in this world. At this moment, his heart suddenly moved. He saw a woman walk over. Lei Xingfeng was stunned. After a while, he said, "It's you?" The woman said, "It's me." The two of them looked at each other and smiled. The person who had merged the 9 seals was actually a woman. This shocked Lei Xingfeng. The woman said, "I finally found someone who merged the 9 seals. I finally found a place to belong." Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, "What do you mean?" The woman said, "Nothing. You don't have to think about it. This is the fate of us cultivators who merge the 9 seals. We form a new world of cultivation." Lei Xingfeng said, "To form a new world, shouldn't we die?" The woman smiled and said, "You may die, but you may live. Are you tired of living?" Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly and said, "I still want to live a little longer. Maybe I could still go back to my hometown." The woman said, "That's impossible. You will never be able to leave this world, and you can't die. Only in the next cycle of merging the 9 seals can you completely destroy this world. I believe that in the end, you will do your best to help someone and let him merge the 9 seals as soon as possible." Lei Xingfeng sighed and said, "It's a reincarnation that I can't escape from." "All right, since I can't escape, then let's work together." The woman smiled and said, "That's your mission." Lei Xingfeng said, "Why?" The woman said, "Because you defeated me. That's why you're the true ruler." Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but scream, "Wah, no way this. I'm in trouble." The woman smiled and said, "Being a ruler is your fortune. Wasn't this your wish when you first started cultivating?" Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but say, "I never had such a wish. I only wanted to become stronger." The woman clapped and said, "You're already the strongest." Lei Xingfeng was unhappy and said, "If that's the case, then let's go together." The woman said indifferently, "No." Lei Xingfeng laughed and said, "At least there's someone to talk to and accompany me. It's better than being alone. The heavens didn't completely abandon me, huh?" The woman said, "Get lost." Lei Xingfeng said indifferently, "No." The end that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.